KOMP 92.3, the rock station. It's Sylvia, and I'm at the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas with Sully Erna of Godsmack.
That's
How are
me.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Of course.
It's a big weekend for you
Hmm.
in Vegas, but it's an overall big weekend. Tonight, the Chelsea, you're going to be playing the Vibez Tour,
Yes.
which is a whole nother thing that you normally do.
Yeah, it's a whole nother angle on Godsmack.
Yeah,
it's
and
the
then
other side.
And then tomorrow you are releasing or pre-screening your documentary, I Stand Alone, the Sully Erna story
Yes.
at Beverly Theater. First off, how are you feeling with everything going on right now?
I feel great. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a good place in my life, and everyone's healthy and happy out here, and the shows have been going really strong, and so everything is good right now.
So as we talked, the Vibez Tour, totally different. What made you guys want to scale back a little bit?
There is no scaling back. This isn't an acoustic show. I don't know if people get the wrong impression when we told them.
I think there is, because like the flyers of like there's like candles and like it just seems really, really chill.
It's intimate.
Yeah.
But it's not scaled down. I mean,
Okay.
we're not blowing things up on the stage in theaters and all that stuff, but it is a very mixed, kind of full rounded show between, there is some acoustic stuff because we're going a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole of some of the cuts that we don't normally play on the big stages.
Okay.
The big festivals and the arenas and all that, it's a little bit meant more for hard hitting. And some of the bigger songs, the
Yeah.
I Stand Alones and the Crying Like a Bitches and the Awakes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But this is some of that, right? So we're still playing fully or electric, but then there's some moments where there's like a beautiful acoustic piece that happens or a piano piece. We're doing some really cool nostalgic covers of some of the bands that we grew up listening to.
Awesome.
There's some storytelling along the way. So it's a much more well-rounded show than just the straightforward, fully electric or just a stripped down acoustic.
And how do you kind of elevate the audience experience when you're doing a show like this, where it's intimate versus like an arena show or like a festival?
Well, this is really more about the gift of music and the power of music and how we all experience it in our own personal ways, because it really is a universal language that we all connect to in our own special way. But, music is just one of those things where it's nothing more than frequencies, which are nothing more than vibrations. But for some reason, when these vibrations come in contact with the human body, it creates emotion.
Okay.
And I think that's what this is all about, and what we've been talking about night after night, is to kind of get people to tune into the experience of music and remind them of what they're feeling and what they're listening to, not just because it's a Godsmack song, but any song that they love in their life. Why does it get you up? Why does it get you moving? Why does it make you emotional? Why does it make you happy? And that's really what the theme of this whole tour is. And that's what the vibe is about, is feeling the vibrations.
And I feel like being intimate is the whole theme of Lighting Up the Sky, this documentary that you're screening tomorrow at Beverly Theater. Also, you guys released a behind the scenes look at your single Truth. Is it fair to say that this is the most vulnerable you've ever been?
Without a doubt. Yeah, because it's the most powerful event that happened to me in a long time where, listen, we all make our mistakes when we're young and stupid and living our lives and running amok out there. But there's a point in time where you kind of grow up and you take your relationships more seriously and you start to value loyalty and honesty and communication and stuff like that. So when people kind of hurt you later in life, it just becomes a little deeper. They say the people that can hurt you the most are the people that you love the most. But sometimes it's just because of carelessness and selfishness, and those kind of things, really shouldn't be tolerated anymore. At least for me in my life, there's a zero tolerance for it. So when something like that happens and a betrayal happens due to just being irresponsible with the relationship, then, it can hit pretty hard. And this one knocked me down pretty good. But again, I would be a complete hypocrite if I'm out there all the time talking about, especially with the Scars Foundation and stuff like that, about how we need to be transparent and vulnerable and open, even to the point of embarrassment, rather than harnessing all these dark kind of scars that keep us internal and traumatized feeling, whether it's emotional or physical scars, right? We need to kind of voice them to give people a voice so they can tell their stories and inspire others, because that's really where the healing begins. And so if I don't practice what I preach, then I'm a hypocrite. And so that's why it was important for me on that specific track to tell my truth and just expose things that happen to even people like us that may see us as untouchable and celebrity status or whatever, that we still experience life the same way everyone else does.
And we'll get into your documentary in a little bit, but I'm remembering a scene where you had like your first panic attack and how you tried so hard to like get out of it or like try to combat it. When you were that age, did you want like a rock star to have that sort of vulnerability, to be open with how they are?
No, I mean, growing up, we see rock stars and actresses and actors
like they're untouchable,
a little bit mystical, and that kind of mystique, I think, is what attracts us to the unknown. And back when we were growing up, we didn't have the accessibility of YouTube and cell phones and video and all that stuff. So like, it was really tough to even get a sneak peek of what Steven Tyler looked like coming out of the gig, going into his limo, or looking for pictures in a magazine and seeing that behind the stage shot of him sitting, smoking a cigarette in the back, talking to Robert Plant or something like that. And you're like, it's bigger than life, Now I think we're a lot more overstimulated in the world because everything's just at the touch of a finger, But yeah, there's a big part of that, and just trying to maintain a certain mystique, but also being, available for the people to help them understand that we're humans just like anyone else.
So we were talking about Beverly Theater. Tomorrow you're screening your documentary, I Stand Alone, the Sully Erna Story. This was based on your memoir that you released. Was it
07?
07, okay. What made now the right time to be like, I got the book out, let me do a whole documentary about it?
I didn't make this decision, but it was brought to me at one point by a duo that are just really great filmmakers. One's a director, Troy Smith, and the other one is our producer and lead editor, Noah Burlow. And they, really enjoyed the book. They thought it was captivating, but they felt it was inspirational as well to help people that are struggling with the hard times, to show them that, with a lot of hard work and perseverance, you can get through it and get to the other side, and life will get better, instead of just kind of letting it take you out when you're in the heat of it. And they just felt like it could be portrayed as a really great featured documentary. And so, of course I was concerned about how it would look on camera, especially since back in those days, the 70s and 80s, we didn't have, again, cell phones and video cameras at our fingertips. So there's a lot of video footage and film that was missing because it didn't exist. And so reenactment stuff sometimes, although there is a lot of real footage from when I was young, even through my 20s and things like that. But there's chunks of time when I'm telling some pretty intense stories that there wasn't cameras on us, obviously. Thank God.
That would be.
Yeah, I'd have been in jail for sure. But how reenactment stuff can get cheesy if you don't do it right, So those were one of my concerns. Obviously, also talking about some of my relationships with my family and stuff, and I certainly didn't want to leave anyone to hang out to dry or embarrass them. But if you're going to tell your story, you got to tell your story, and that's what it is.
Did you have to talk to some of your family members and like?
Yeah, especially my dad, because he was not a good dad growing up. Since then, I mean, we've had an incredible relationship for over 25 years now. But he was a rough dude when we were growing up, and he wasn't the most fun person to be around. And him and my mom divorced when I was 4, and there was just a lot of chaos, pretty intense stuff in the household, which leaked me into being raised on the streets with the wrong people and getting into the trouble that I get into. So,
and there is a scene in the documentary where you're like, I'm gonna do a band, I'm gonna make this whole thing myself, I'm gonna be the singer, and you were trying to sing, and like your bandmates were just like, oh no.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
So how did you find your voice eventually?
It was just, just continuing to do what I do, just kind of fine tune it and just keep, I always had a powerful voice, but I never was a trained singer. So I didn't know how to fluctuate keys and stay in key and different movements and stuff. So it was just something I had to kind of develop and learn as I went along. I knew what I wanted to sing, but you start hearing yourself back on tape and you're like, ew. So, then you start to look up to the people that you respect And that's what I did. I started to look towards other, professional singers that sang really well that I enjoyed.
Did you kind of
And
like pick and choose
yeah,
little
take a
things?
little bit of this and a little bit of that just to help shape who I was as a singer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what do you want people to take away from this documentary?
I just hope they find inspiration in it. Like I said, this is really a film about perseverance. And, it's about one boy's journey through life and all the obstacles and challenges that he faced and how he was able to overcome it to get to the other side and find that magical moment when the reward happens and the success from all the hard work pays off. Because in this day and age, I got to tell you, the one thing that I do not think parents are doing a good job with, and maybe some of them do, but to see a lot of these kind of spoiled brat new generation kids and like the expectations of what they should have in their lives and how easy it should be by just going like, oh, I'm going to just snort a teaspoon of cinnamon and be a YouTube phenomenon. And they're killing themselves because they're seeing all these other people doing stupid shit, and all of a sudden they have millions of dollars in bodyguards, and that's how they want to be famous. I think what we're missing is teaching our kids about disappointment, because disappointment is going to happen over and over again in life,
and it makes you stronger.
It's about how we can reach down inside inside ourselves and find that inner strength and rise above it. That's when the magic happens, right? But when we just give up when things aren't going our way, I just don't agree with that, because you don't know what it's going to be like to not get the job when you're interviewed, or lose a relationship, or not make it doing a certain thing right away, whatever, and you have to kind of roll up your sleeves and work a little bit harder. Taking the loss, like everybody's not supposed to get the fucking trophy. Sorry, you lost. You're second place. You're the loser. They're the winner. Accept it. Figure it out. And work harder and come back the next year and be the winner, because that's when you feel the reward. And that's what I'm hoping people get from this movie, is that this was a story about working through the toughest moments in my life. And somehow, even when I gave up and I was just throwing it all away, something brought me back, and I knew I just had to kind of roll up my sleeves and dig in again. And then, when you least expect it, great things happen.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I'm hoping will be inspirational to other people.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sully.
Yeah.
Vibez Tour is happening tonight at the Chelsea at the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. Tomorrow, Beverly Theater screening of I Stand Alone, the Sully Erna story. Thank you so much. We will see you tonight.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate it.